some of the things that you hear about leadership? When you hear someone talk about leadership, especially for as females, there are things like female bosses are difficult to work with. Too straight, too emotional, women are too emotional, like we hear things like this, men are better bosses than female. What has shaped your mindset when we talk about leadership? And I'm giving you this backstory because of my topic for today. Leadership has no gender. If for nothing at all, after this particular session, it's just one thing or two things I'll say I want you to take out. First of all, it's not a competition. Because sometimes some women, when they find themselves in certain positions, they feel I have to prove that I am the boss. I'm the one in charge. No, it doesn't have to be like that. Not in any way. Whether you're a male or a female, there are key things about leadership, and that's what I want to touch on. When it comes to leadership, it is responsibility. It is courage. It is influence. These three things. It doesn't matter your gender. If you are able to exhibit responsibility, you can be accountable to someone, you can take ownership of things. You have the courage. I'm telling you, this particular quote I'm saying really is something that speaks to me because until I started working for Joy FM, in fact, how I even got to work in there is just interesting. I saw it on WhatsApp and the information was a radio station is looking for a female host to host a tech show, and I was like, oh, I'm in tech. I'm a Toastmaster, so what's the big deal? I should be able to do this without any problem. And then I applied, and then I got a call. So we are calling from Jennifer. I was like, hey, how do I even start this conversation? Because I thought it was one of these new radio stations. I was like, well, let me just go and find my way around. I had a first interview session. It was online. I met with my then executive producer. She's moved on now, NM19. I'm sure some of us know her. I met with her. She was very keen on having a woman come and host the show. And interestingly, the person who was there was a male, Spiky. I'm sure some of us may know him because he's Spiky. And I listened to the show a number of times. So to know that it was that show and the shoes I was going to fill, honestly, it wasn't very easy for me. I went. In fact, she told me to come over to the office. I went, and it was a whole panel. I wasn't expecting that. It was very interesting, and by the time I was done, I told myself, I didn't really answer. Like, there's no way, because I thought I answered the questions to the best of my ability, but apparently, I was too technical. They wanted to now have a lot of people listening to the program. Back then, it wasn't really like that. So that is where I had to come in the role that I had to play, becoming the host of Big Squad. To me, because until I started a show, I didn't think for once, I've been doing this since 2023, I didn't think for once, if someone had told me, in fact at the beginning of 2023, that you could be hosting this show that Comics Life was in, I had me for the way. And by God's grace, I'm doing it. It's on Tuesday, I get to the studio, and I'm doing it apart from my 9 to 5. I get to the studio, sometimes I sit in the seat and my producer, I'm like, oh, let me do it. Let's start the show. Before I know it, you're ready or not, you have to start speaking, like, ready or not. And somehow we are doing it. So it's about taking that courage. It doesn't matter what people have said about it. And for me, I think that is what I didn't see growing up. Because even growing up, my mommy, they're a group of 6 girls, no male at all. And I don't know what made them have this idea, but they told me, when you go to school, don't be a prefect. I didn't really, now, whenever I think about it, I'm just wondering, what was it? Is it that they feared, like, becoming a leader or what? I don't know. I think one of these days I should have a conversation with them and I said, what was it? Because for the longest time, I had that fear, like, I can't take up decisions. Why should I be the one to take up the decision? I'm doing the work. It's not like I'm not doing the work. I'm doing everything, but just taking up the position for it to be known that you are the lead in this place. No, I'll be a specialist, work alone, but to interact with people, give, responsibility, like work on this, work on that. No, I won't venture it. until I realized that no, if I'm exhibiting the characteristics of a leader, then I should be able to just break this pattern. And that's what we're talking about here. Maybe our parents saw that, maybe, probably for marriage and all that, the woman's supposed to be submissive and all that. Like I said, it's not supposed to be a competition. I understand all those values and they play a role. I'm married, so it's fine to be submissive and all that. But when it comes to leading, we need to take up that space. And it's not just about leading and leading people. Even for you as an individual, are you able to lead yourself? I'm telling you, what working remotely has taught me as a person, oh my, I didn't even know, but I had to learn them. So I'm going to leave you with the 3 things that I spoke about. Owning your voice. Owning your voice. I work in a company, and the first 2 or 3 years I was in the company, I started off as a project administrator, so it was fine the work I was doing until it got to a point that we were done with most of the projects because it was an acquisition, so by the time they were coming, they needed the projects to be managed. And I had to now move into a different role, becoming an application support specialist. It was fine until I realized that this is a male-dominated space. It was quite tough at the time. And management will meet, they'll go for calibration, that's what we call it. And they'll come back, and like every time I'm hearing one story or the other, they said you are too this, you are too that, you don't really talk in meetings. I'm like, are these reasons why you should not promote someone like when the time is up? And I found it very difficult to understand. But I came to see that we all have our voice. But are we able to own it and play it to our advantage? So that we can be called leaders. When nobody is watching you, what do you do? How do you even talk? What kind of tone? Are you heard? Like when you go for meetings, you can be there quietly, like you have something to say. Why can't you say it? And especially for us as women, and I think sometimes the men will also have to be encouraging us, because you can be in some of these rooms and it's like the woman who has mastered the courage and tries raising her hand, it's like nobody even sees her. It ends up just reducing all the confidence that she was able to master to even raise her hand. So one way or the other, we all must encourage ourselves, but we should be able to speak up. You are in the meeting, speak up. It can even be through writing. That's one of the ways that I express my thoughts. It can be through writing. If it's an email that you are sending, at least let us know that you were there in the room, basically, and let us hear you at any point in time. This is a code I have for you. If you don't use your voice, someone else will decide for you. I told you about how my mommy's brought me up. Hey, they said, perfect. Don't be a perfect. For whatever reason, I don't know. In a way, they had made this for me, and it had become a decision that I was just going by. And so I realized that no, I had to set my own standards. And I know some of our speakers have already mentioned that in a way. You have to pave the way yourself. You can't just follow it. Society, this is how it's supposed to be, and then you just go by, you know, at a point, you have to break the pattern. Now, owning your value. Owning your value. I spoke about documentation. There are times that you are doing the work, like me, I was doing the work, but when it's at the end of the year and I sit in front of my boss and he asks, like, the year, why should I give you a 5 over 5, and what's a 2 or a 3? And it's like, your family, you know you have done the work, but where is the results? So owning your value, being able to track your results, you've done the work. Can we see it? I really love what you were doing there with all the stats. Like, I'm like, whoa, this is a brilliant person. Mentioning all the numbers, you should know your work, like, know everything. We shouldn't come and sometimes the way people even talk, you'll be wondering, is it really they are failed or not they are failed? Are they standing in for someone or they are just, can we see it clearly that this is who you are, this is what you do? In that way, when it happens at any point in time, we are looking for this one person, we know, oh, when it comes to Vanessa, you should know cybersecurity, no 2 weeks, you can have her speak to that. When it comes to this, I can call on this person. It has to be very clear at any point. So your value, what you bring to the table, can you really articulate it? She mentioned that during interviews, someone can really speak. Let them do the work and they are family. Another person too. They can't talk. But it's so important that you do that. And then finally, your vision. Someone was asking about motivation. This ADHD and mental health and sweethearts. I told you about the experience I've had from working from home. There are days that I don't want to get out of the bed. I just want to be there. And I can come up with any excuse not to do the work. I'm I'm not feeling well today, or something is happening. I come up with an excuse. But honestly, if you're going to be a good leader, like I said, it starts with leading yourself. Are you able to make yourself do it? I used my mom to register my company like 5 years ago. This year, 2026, I told myself, I can't keep deceiving myself. Seriously, who am I lying to? February, the beginning of the. In fact, when I went there, Ghana systems and sometimes how it can be the frustration. It nearly made me even stop the whole process. I had to pay for a premium and got the company registered because I told myself, no. You would have to find a way to move yourself, but it starts from having a vision. Who do you want to be? My mothers, none of them went to the university, but they made sure that their children, daughters, and sons, they will push them to go to the university. So if I've seen all that from them, I can't just be there and say I will not have a mission. For them that they got to SS Max, they chose to have a mission for their children. Then me, they've managed to take me to university and then I'll just be doing things in my. It can't be. So I have to tell myself, no, I have to register this company, and I have. And why did I do that? Because I realized there was a gap. I wish I had someone to hold my hand, like you were saying. I started working, I worked with some female bosses. I didn't like the way some of them behave. And I asked myself, if I find myself in such a position, how am I going to make things different for people? And it means holding someone. So some people just don't know what to do. They just don't know how to communicate. They just don't know how to use their voice. They don't know how to take ownership of things. So, one, can we think bigger, outside the box? Not what everybody says is supposed to be the way. The unconventional way. Can we just come up with it and move accordingly as such? I had to really look at that and tell myself that some parts, yes, they were carved by God's grace, I'll say, because computer engineering, I did computer engineering in school. In fact, I didn't know what to do when I was done with SS. All I knew was I wanted nothing to do with blood. So, nurse, doctor, out of the way. I didn't like the smell of medicine. So, pharmacy, yes, it's also out of the way. And I was just starting engineering. My cousin had done civil engineering. So, what do I get to do? I'm not sure. But then I had someone who held my hand at the time. My dad took me to see one of his lecturer friends. He said, oh, computer is now a thing, so you can be looking at it. And I got computer engineering for KNUST and Legon, so I just knew that this is just the path to go. And then I ended up doing that. And tell you what, at a point, and sometimes I'm talking about vision because at a point when I was working, they saw the kind of value that I brought. So my accounting head at the time wanted to move me to finance. I remember having this conversation at home with my husband. He told me, people want to move into tech. You're already there. You want to move out. Why? So I had to just rethink it. But because that vision was very clear to me, I want to help others also. I told myself this year, let me start with a company, coaching people, mentoring people, and at least providing services that can make other people also learn and have experience in tech. Because that's what I realized was usually missing. So if it's an internship program, you can have that, and at least when it's time for you to apply for a job, you can say this is the experience that I've also had in this space. So you own your voice, you own your value, and then you own your vision. So if you don't leave here with anything, leave here with this one thing. Choose boldness. I'm telling you, I sit on air every Tuesday, and not a single Monday goes by without me feeling a bit, butterflies in the tummy. But when you hear me speak, if I don't tell you I felt that way, someone at work asks me, hey, you feel butterflies in your tummy? I say, yes. But I choose to be bold about it anyway. I choose to still use my voice anyway. I still choose to show up. Because if you don't, how will we know what your worth is? How will we know what you are even doing? Leave here with this one thing. Choose boldness. Leadership, it has no gender. It's not for male, it's not for female. You can do it once you are responsible, once you are accountable to people, and once you have influence. And so we are encouraging more females into the space. Let's take up space and occupy as much as possible. Thank you.
Thank you.